In order to talk about how Node got started, why it's so big, why it's everywhere, and why you need to learn it, well, we need to ask this question. How do you run JavaScript? Pause and think about this. How do you run JavaScript? If I told you, hey, run this piece of JavaScript code for me, how would you do it? Would you be able to run JavaScript on any computer? Let's say you bought a brand new computer. Can you run JavaScript on it? Well, for some of you, your first answer might be, well, yeah, I can run it in the browser. If we go to our browser, let's say you're using Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever. You can open up the developer tools and you can run JavaScript in your console, right? But the thing that's running JavaScript for you here is not your computer. I mean, yes, it's your computer, but it's the browser that you downloaded or came pre-installed on your computer when you bought it that allows us to run JavaScript. If we had a fresh computer with nothing installed, well, JavaScript would be meaningless to the computer, right? I mean, that's what programming is. Programming, such as using a programming language like JavaScript, is us, as programmers, writing instructions so that a computer, a machine, follows those instructions. And the way a browser, or we're able to run JavaScript, is by writing JavaScript, and then we feed it into something like this. Now, what this is in this 8, well, we call that a JavaScript engine. We're going to get back to that shortly. But we essentially write instructions so that our machines do something with those instructions. In our case, maybe have interactivity on a website. But in order for us to be able to run JavaScript, we need this thing right here. We need a way for a computer to understand JavaScript. And this is what a JavaScript engine does. When we download, let's say, Google Chrome, it comes in with a built-in JavaScript engine. This JavaScript engine takes whatever we write over here and understands it and runs the code for us. But can we run JavaScript without a browser? How would you run JavaScript outside of a browser? I mean, we just talked about how we need this piece, this JavaScript engine, in order for a computer to understand the instructions that we write. So how can we use this engine, but without a browser? Is that even possible? Well, let's do a quick Google search here. If I type in JavaScript engines, maybe I can use a JavaScript engine on my own instead of the Chrome browser one. Well, as you can see here, a JavaScript engine is a computer program that executes JavaScript code. It reads our JavaScript and it executes it. So if I open up JavaScript engines in Wikipedia, are there multiple JavaScript engines? Well, yeah, there are. For example, Google Chrome uses something called the V8 JavaScript engine. SpiderMonkey is used by the Firefox browser. And then there's other things like JavaScript Core that is the one used by Apple in its Safari browser. So there's different JavaScript engines that can read our JavaScript code. But hold on there. We didn't really answer the question, are we able to run JavaScript outside of the browser? And this is where Node comes in. But before we get into Node, we have to talk about some of the key moments that led to Node. Because these 4 key moments are what caused the world to take notice of Node. Because up until now, we know that a browser runs a JavaScript engine. But what if we don't have a browser? We wanted to run JavaScript on our computers. We need to solve that problem. Well, let's take a history lesson. 1995, that's a big year because that's the year that the Netscape browser introduced to us JavaScript. Brendan Eich, that used to work there, essentially developed a new programming language, JavaScript, that allows us to manipulate and program things on the web. Now, in 1996, Netscape had a great idea. With their version 3 of their Netscape Navigator, they introduced something called Netscape Livewire. a way to create dynamic pages using server-side JavaScript. Hey, we've heard that term before. As a matter of fact, we can even see the press release when they announced it in 1996. With the release of 3.0 version Netscape web servers, Netscape Livewire is fully integrated into web servers. Blah, 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 blah. Allows us to do essentially server-side JavaScript. But you know what? Let's forget about Livewire because it was ahead of its time and it just didn't really work. Anyway, everything went along. JavaScript was on the front end, was on the browser, and then 2008 rolls around. And this was a critical period. Why? Because Google announced something new, and that was the Chrome browser. And this symbol that you see here, that you've seen before, is what was critical. It was called the V8 engine, a new JavaScript engine. You see, in 2008, it was a pivotal moment for the web. The idea of Web 2.0 started being talked about. The idea of having websites like Flickr, like Gmail, that were interactive. It showed the world that modern experiences on the web could happen. It's more than just pages, just HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. When Chrome released their new browser, it allowed JavaScript to run really fast, really performant. It allowed users to have really good experiences on websites because it was such a good JavaScript engine. As a matter of fact, it's the reason that Chrome browsers are so popular now. But because we can now run JavaScript a lot faster on the web, and the V8 engine was so powerful, the concept that didn't really work back in 1996 with Livewire, well, a year later in 2009, Ryan Dahl created Node.js. The idea was simple. Can we take this V8 engine that runs JavaScript really, really fast on the browser and just run it outside of the browser? Because that's the question we're trying to solve, right? We started the course with how do you run JavaScript? And up until now, we can run it on the browser. But if I told you to run it on your computer without a browser, well, before Node.js, that would have been a little bit tricky. As a matter of fact, if you want, you can even go on YouTube, search for Ryan Dahl, original Node.js presentation, and still see the presentation where he released Node.js to the world in 2009. It's a really interesting talk and a bit of a history lesson. Now, Ryan Dahl had a bit of luck on his side because there were more and more JavaScript developers in the world working on web applications, but we now have the ability with Node to say, hey, can we run JavaScript outside of the browser? Maybe we can do what Python, PHP, or any other programming language can do, which is run code on things like servers. And because there were so many JavaScript developers already, Node was able to create this idea of a full stack developer. A full stack developer is somebody that can work on the web, but also in the world of, let's say, backend servers, microservices. And there you have it. Node was born in 2009, and now, well, it's a big player in the programming world. And if you see here, we see that Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on Chrome 8's V8 JavaScript engine. All right, we know what Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine is, but what is a runtime? Let's learn about that in the next video.